Okay, so we're gonna go over basic color mixing and 12 different techniques. I want you to start with the 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. I want you to open up the tubes of paint just to look to see that they are the most primary looking colors. For the blue, I would go with an ultramarine or a cobalt. I'm using Shinhan today, and Shinhan has a tendency to go a little turquoise with their cobalt. Other brands should be fine, like Winsor & Newton has a really neutral, beautiful cobalt. For the yellow, usually like a cadmium yellow would be fine. Stay away from lemon yellow. That has white in it, and we don't want to use white paint. I can refresh on that later. Red is the toughest color. Open it up and make sure it looks like the most primary red. It shouldn't be alizarin crimson. That's going to be much more blue red or go towards a purple. And a vermilion is going to be more of an orange color. If you have the Cotman set, you will have crimson, you'll have alizarin, and you will have the vermilion. I want you to actually mix those 2 colors together, which is crazy, I know, but you're going to get closer to a neutral red that way. That's only for people who have the Cotman set. Everyone else should have a very neutral red, yellow, and blue. I want you to set it up like a rainbow because that's going to be the most logical. I'm working from a really, really basic palette today, and you can see I'm using very small quantities of paint. Now I'm going to be mixing my secondaries in between. So red and yellow make orange. So I'm going to mix, and I'm going to go a little heavier with my yellow because the yellow is going to be a weaker color. There's my primary yellow. Here, yellow and blue make green. And again, go a little heavier on the yellow on your palette. There's my blue for my primary there. And then finally, blue and red make purple. Now, what do all 3 primaries together make? They will make a brown. Red, yellow, and blue together will make a brown. Or they will make a gray. Sometimes you can get close to black, but you're not going to get a real black, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put 1 or 2 drops of water on the palette. I really don't want to dilute the colors. I want the colors on the palette to remain as a concentrate. And so just a couple droplets of water, mainly to thin the paints just enough so that you're going to end up with watercolor rather than something that feels more like acrylic. So that orange is a little too red, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to just add a little bit of yellow to it. As I mentioned, yellow is going to be the weakest pigment, so be prepared to add a little bit more of that. I'm going to add just a little more yellow again. Every brand's going to be slightly different too, so you may find yourself using larger quantities in certain brands. Okay, so there's my orange. Eventually you can use different colors, but as you're starting, I think it's really healthy to just start with the primaries. You're going to become a much better artist that way. Let's mix in just a little more yellow. There's my orange. Try to leave as much pigment on the palette as possible, and then use the water to thoroughly clean your brush. I've also got paper towels here. I actually really like working with these mechanics paper towels because they're just really absorbent. They have very little texture on them, and as you'll see later, that's really beneficial. Okay. I also don't want to leave my brush just sitting in the water. That's going to destroy my brush much faster. I clean the brush very vigorously using the bottom of the water container, and then I lay my brush back down when I'm done with it, and that should give your brush a really nice long life. Let's get the paper towel here. So next, let's mix the green. You're going to get more of an army green, or a dirty green color. Make sure there's absolutely no red left in your brush when you mix this. That works pretty well for my green. If you want a more exciting green, you're probably going to need to buy some varieties like sap green. This is closer to an olive green. Viridian, I'm not a big fan of that color, but it mixes really nicely with other colors, so it's nice to have. And then finally, my purple. So I cleaned my brush thoroughly before I went in and mixed it. Again, your purple is not going to be a really peppy color. It's going to be mixed from the primary, so it will still read as purple, but make sure there's absolutely no yellow in your brush when you mix it. And if it's looking very brown, add just a little extra blue to it. And your setup may be different from this setup. That would be fine as long as it's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Okay, so now I'm gonna set the paints to the side. I'm gonna put the caps back on.